Okay, our last example. A current headache medication relieves headache symptoms in a population mean time of 3.3 minutes with a population standard deviation of 0.9 minutes. Okay, so here we have our mu, here we have our sigma. The manufacturer of a new over-the-counter pain reliever claims that its products bring pain relief in less than 3.3 minutes. Okay, so here's our mu, here's our HO, here's our counterclaim, here's our HA, less than 3.3 minutes. In order to be able to make this claim in its television advertisements, the manufacturer was required by a particular television network to present statistical evidence in support of the claim. Okay, so we're going to write a type 1, type 2 error chart and analyze the meanings of the type 1 and type 2 errors. So this is a problem regarding headache medicine. The current medication takes 3.3 hours for relief, and this new medication, or the claim by the manufacturer, is that it takes less than 3.3 hours for relief. So the null hypothesis, or this is the assumption that the new medication is no better than the old medication, that the mean is really 3.3 hours. And the counterclaim, nope, the new medication is truly less than 3.3 hours. The decisions that could be possible, we can either reject the null hypothesis, reject that the mean is 3.3 hours, or we could fail to reject the null hypothesis. Fail to reject that the mean is 3.3 hours. Okay, we make the right decision if we fail to reject 3.3 and mu is really 3.3. We make the right decision when we reject 3.3 and mu is really less than 3.3. We make a type 1 error when mu is 3.3 but we rejected it. We shouldn't have, but we rejected it. And we make a type 2 error if the mean is less than 3.3 and we fail to reject it. We failed to reject 3.3. So what is the meaning of a type 1 error in this problem? Go back to the chart. A type 1 error would mean that the new medication is no better than the old medication. The new medication really has a pain relief time of 3.3 hours. But we made an error in that we rejected the null hypothesis. We rejected that the mean was 3.3 hours. Okay, so the population mean relief time for the headache medication is really 3.3. True null hypothesis, mu equal 3.3, was incorrectly rejected. So we rejected that 3.3, but we shouldn't have rejected it. That's a type 1 error. And let's look at a type 2 error. So going back to the chart, a type 2 error. Okay, type 2 error is when the new medication produces relief in less than 3.3 hours. In reality, that's the actual state. It really produces pain relief in less than 3.3 hours. But we failed to reject the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis said that the mean was 3.3. We didn't reject that 3.3, but we should have, because the mean is really less than 3.3. We failed to reject a false null hypothesis. So putting that into words in the context of the problem, the population mean relief time for headache medication is really less than 3.3, but we failed to reject the false null hypothesis. Okay, that would be the meaning of a type 2 error. Okay, and that concludes our discussion on type 1 and type 2 errors. I'll bring this back up if you're copying it. So that concludes everything on type 1 and type 2 errors. All hypothesis tests, and there are so many of them in the field of statistics, every single hypothesis test is capable of making an error. Okay, so when you come to a conclusion in the end, there's always a chance that you've come to the wrong conclusion. And that wrong conclusion is either a type 1 error or a type 2 error, depending on whether your conclusion was to reject the null hypothesis or to fail to reject the null hypothesis. In this class, we're going to look at several different types of hypothesis testing, and we will look at type 1 and type 2 errors for only a few of them. We're not going to exhaust the topic. But just know in your studies that if you were to do more hypothesis testing in whatever field you went into, type 1 and type 2 errors are important in every type of hypothesis test. Okay, well, good luck. I'll see you at the next lecture. Email me if you have any questions.